lecture we address the vehicle routing problem. The vehicle routing problem occurs in distribution when we have to distribute from a central warehouse to multiple customers. Let us say there is a warehouse and 6 retailers or 6 customers and we have to distribute. Now each person has a certain requirement which is given by Qj is the requirement of the material by customer j, and we will assume that trucks take this material from the warehouse, distribute to the customers and returns back to the warehouse. This is an example of the milk run that we spoke about in an earlier lecture. Now if these Qj's are small and such that all the 6 demands put together is less than 1 truckload, it is economical for the truck to start from the warehouse, visit each of these customers once and only once and come back to the warehouse, because the truck capacity is assumed to be greater than or equal to the sum of the requirements. In such case it becomes a travelling salesman problem with 7 nodes, the warehouse plus 6 nodes. Many times that does not happen. The individual Qj's will add up to a number which is more than a single truckload. It is customary to use the notation Q for the truck capacity. So if sigma Qj is greater than Q, then we need multiple trips. We either need multiple trips or we need multiple trucks or multiple vehicles to do it if time is a constraint. If for example we need 2 trips and you have only 1 truck, then we have the issue of which of these customers or cities. It is customary in vehicle routing problem to say these customer nodes as cities and the warehouse as a depot. So which are the cities that will go in the first trip and which are the cities that will go in the second trip or the next trip, and then in what order would the vehicle visit the customers who are assigned to a trip is a vehicle routing problem. We may have one vehicle and have multiple trips, where for example in the first trip it might go to 1 and then 2 and then 3 and back to the warehouse, and in the second trip it might do 6, 5, 4 and back to the warehouse. Now let us assume that we start at time equal to 0 and let us say it takes some time to finish the first trip and come back. Let us say it takes about 4 hours to finish the first trip, then the second trip can start only after 4 hours, and by the time we reach the last customer on the second trip the time may be delayed. So that would necessitate multiple vehicles. So whether we talk of multiple vehicles or multiple trips, the problem is the same as long as we are not looking at time windows, which means as long as we are not looking at times either before which or after which or in between which we need to visit a customer. So we use the terms trip and vehicle interchangeably, but wherever it is required we talk about vehicles. It is also customary to say that in this case, even though there are 2 trips are possible, we would say there are 2 vehicles and the first vehicle will visit 1, 2, 3 and back, and the second will visit 6, 5, 4 and back. They may do it sequentially, they may do it parallelly, but for the purpose of argument or discussion we would say that there are 2 vehicles. So a vehicle routing problem essentially has more than 1 vehicle, and if the vehicle routing problem has a single vehicle, then it becomes a travelling salesman problem. So TSP can always be seen as a case of a vehicle routing problem where there is only 1 vehicle. Now we have already seen some methods to solve the travelling salesman problem. Now we will look at some ways to solve the vehicle routing problem. The vehicle routing problem is widely used in almost all kinds of distribution. It is used extensively in pickup problems, employee pickup, school children pickup, mail pickup. It is also used in a lot of delivery problems and so on. So, we will now see the formulation for the vehicle routing problem, and then we will explain it through an example, and then we will also see some heuristic algorithms to solve the vehicle routing problem. So, several formulations exist for the vehicle routing problem. Now, we will give one formulation, which is this: minimize Cij Xij Now, we have this formulation for the VRP. We will try and explain this formulation in two stages. We will first explain this part of the formulation, and then we will add this part of the formulation. Now, what we do in this formulation is this. Now, suppose we have 6 customers and we call them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, what we do is the matrix will now have, and there is a depot. So, we will have the depot and 6 customers. So, the distance matrix is a 7 by 7 matrix. So, we will now call a 7, which is called the start node, and then we will have an 8, which is called the destination node. Now, what we do is each of these 6 customers are connected to itself. So, there will be a 1 to 2, a 2 to 1, and then 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, and then you will have these arcs. So, each one is essentially connected to each of the others. Each one is essentially connected to each of the others. So, this will be complete, and so on. 2 and 5 will be connected. Like that, we connect all these 6, and then we complete the network by connecting 7. All these are directed arcs. So, there are connections, and then 7 is connected to all the nodes, and all nodes are also connected to 8. This formulation is one by Achyutan and Caseta. So, we complete the network by adding these 6 customers here, having them in the middle, connecting each of them with the other, and then this 7 and 8 act as some kind of a source and sink, assuming that the warehouse is now split into two entities, one from where the vehicles go and the other where the vehicles at the end come into. So, both actually represent the warehouse, but then they are like a source and sink on this network. So, each of these distance between I to j on this is given from the distance matrix. Depot to each one is written here, and each one of them to depot is also written here. So, minimizing Cij Xij is on the entire network. So, it is on all arcs in the network. So, we would still have variables like x71, x72, x73 and so on. X7 we will not have variables like x17, 27. From 7 it will only be 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. There will not be arcs that go into 7. Similarly, there will not be arcs that go out of 8. You will have all arcs come into 8, 1 8, 2 8, 3 8, 4 8, 5 8, 6 8. There is no 7 8. So, that is how the network is drawn. So, summed over all arcs. Now, what happens is, if I take a particular node 1, now few things can happen to that node. One is, the node 1 or any node, say let us say node 3, I can reach node 3 either from the source, which means it is the first node that the vehicle comes, or I can reach it from some other node. So, Xij plus x n plus 1 j is equal to 1 for all the j from 1 to 6. So, if I take any of these nodes, I reach that node either directly from the source or through some other node which is given by this set of constraints. Similarly, if I take a node from a typical node, I can go either directly to the destination or to some other node. So, Xij plus I n plus 2 is equal to 1. So, either I go to the destination or I go to some other of these nodes. From here I do not go back to 7, here this is not defined for 8, this is not defined for 7. Here the Ij is only up to this 6, 7 comes here, 8 comes here. So, n is equal to 6, so n plus 1 is 7, n plus 2 is 8, so this represents the n plus 2 node. Now, both these will represent that if there are two vehicles that I am considering, then capital V is equal to 2, which means exactly 2 of these arcs out of these 6, there are 6 arcs, exactly 2 of these arcs will take the value 1, which means this will force from 7 I will directly visit 2 out of these 6 directly. Similarly, x I n plus 2 equal to V, again V is equal to 2, which is the number of vehicles. So, this will force 2 out of these 6 arcs to be equal to 1, which means from 2 out of these 6 arcs we will reach directly to the destination. It may also happen that one vehicle may just go from 7 to 1 to 8, while the other vehicle could do 7, 2, 4, 3, 6, 5, 8. It can happen, but it will ensure that 2 arcs go out of this, 2 arcs reach this, and Xij equal to 0, 1, minimizing the total distance would give us the distance that we travel in the vehicle routing problem. So, this is a very nice formulation when it comes to solving a VRP more as a flow problem, solving it as a multiple path problem from source to destination with some constraints and restrictions on the path that we actually have here. So, this represents the formulation for the VRP. Now, this would have, for example, if we have the warehouse and then we have 6 customers or 6 destinations. Now, this Xij will have 36 variables, I equal to 1 to 6, j equal to 1 to 6, it will have 36 variables. Then X71 to 76 will be 6 variables, and 1 8 to 6 8 will be another 6 variables. So 36 plus 6 plus 6. So if I have n customers, it will have n square plus 2n variables, where n square xij variables will be there and another 2n variables for this. The number of constraints, this will be n constraints, this will be n constraints, this will be one constraint and this will be one constraint. So we will have 2n plus 1 constraints. So this will have n square plus 2n variables and then it will have 2n plus 1 constraint, 2n plus 2 constraints, and you can solve it as a binary IP to get the solution to this particular problem. And it is always possible to define only one path here and solve a TSP. So once again the TSP will also have n square plus 2n variables and it will have 2n plus 2 constraints. So it is a more precise formulation to solve the TSP instead of having the other set of constraints. So essentially we have n square plus 2n variables and 2n plus 2 constraints to solve the TSP also. This can also be used to solve the VRP. Now we have to explain some of these. So a typical VRP is not only about finding the vehicle to which each city or customer is assigned and the order of visit of the customers by the vehicles. There are few other constraints that we may like to have. Now this constraint is called, this is a restriction on the number of customers that each vehicle visits. So this is a restriction on the number of customers that we want the vehicle to visit. So we say each vehicle will visit less than or equal to L customers. Now we could have restriction on capacity. In fact, if we remember right, the motivation to the vehicle routing problem comes from the fact that there is capacity restriction. So each customer would require a certain demand, which I said, which I used small qi as a notation. So we could either use capital Qi or we could have small qi, and this W is actually the capacity of the vehicle. We could use W or we could use Q to represent the capacity of the vehicle. Because if we did not have the capacity constraint, then it is always possible, if the vehicle has infinite capacity or if the vehicle has more capacity than demanded, it is always possible to solve it as a TSP and then get minimum distance, because the minimum distance for a TSP with 7 nodes will always be less than or equal to the distance that we travel when we use multiple vehicles or multiple trips, as the case may be, if distances follow triangle inequality. Generally Euclidean distance follow triangle inequality, and in practice we would know that dij plus djk is greater than or equal to dik, triangle inequality is followed, and therefore a TSP will always give in terms of distance minimum distance compared to the VRP. But what can also happen is that we might want to do parallel movement of this, we want to reach the customers within a certain time and so on. Therefore we might say that the two vehicles individually may travel, if it is a TSP, then it travels a certain distance. Now if we solve a 2 vehicle VRP, the distance will be higher, but then from a time point of view, both the vehicles could start at the same time, and by the time they finish and come back to the depot, they can do it with sooner time. So that is another motivation to go for a VRP type of implementation rather than a TSP, even if we do not have capacity constraints. But if we have capacity constraints, this will necessarily force us to use multiple vehicles, and then we have to solve a VRP. Now these set of constraints are called distance constraint. Now we do not want a situation where, for example, if I have my total capacity of a vehicle, let us say is 50, and then let us say the total capacity of the vehicle is 50, and the total demand is 55. So, when we actually solve the problem as a two, this would necessitate two vehicles, and if we solve a two vehicle VRP, we might get into a situation where one vehicle does about 45 distance and the other vehicle does about 10 distance. So, we like to have a certain balance in terms of distance travelled. So, we would like to say that each vehicle does not travel more than a capital T, which is the distance. So, we could have either all three types of constraints, which would be number of customer constraint, capacity constraint and distance constraint, or we could have a subset of these depending on our actual requirement. So, this would also, all of these would require of the order of n square constraints, because now we realize that yi and yj are some other continuous variables that we have introduced. Xij is the same, L is known. Similarly, yn plus 2 and yn plus 1 are another set of continuous variables that have been defined. Similarly, ui plus, these are very similar to our ui minus uj plus n xij less than equal to n minus 1 that we have seen. So, necessarily they take care of making sure that within a certain allocation it does not exceed a certain number. So, again we have something like n square plus n square plus n square. So, put together there will be about 3 n square constraints for each type. The only addition is a set of yi and yj. So, that will be for, in this example with 6 customers, there will be 8 y variables, there will be another 8 u variables and there is another 8 v variables. The other catch of course is that the yi's, the u's and the v's are continuous. So, when we add this, the problem does not, it moves away from a 0 1 or a binary IP to a mixed IP, where some of these variables are continuous, the yi variables are continuous, the ui and the vi, whereas the xij's are binary. But we could still use this formulation very effectively to solve VRPs, provided we actually have a solver. If we do not have a solving facility, then we use heuristics or thumb rule based algorithms. Now, let us take a small example and then show how we solve this. So, we have a problem with a warehouse and 6 cities. This is the distance matrix. 0 is the warehouse or depot, 1 to 6 are the 6 cities or 6 customers. The matrix is right now assumed to be symmetric. So, distance between 0 to 1 is the same as the distance between 1 to 0. 0 represents, as I said, the depot or the warehouse. In a previous lecture, I had also explained that in many practical situations, this matrix need not be symmetric due to multiple reasons. Both distance and time to travel can change depending on the time of the day, depending on the route that is taken and so on. But just to illustrate the VRP, we would include a symmetric matrix. So, I will just give you some solutions here. So, if we apply the TSP formulation, we would get the solution 75136248 representing the solution with distance equal to 134, which is the optimum solution to the TSP, which means we use this formulation and then we put V equal to 1. We do not use any of these when it is a TSP, we simply use this formulation and put 1 V equal to 1, which means one vehicle is going. So, we get that solution with 134 on this. Now, if we ignore the load constraint, all these if we ignore, we simply solve for 2 vehicles, and then if we solve for 2 vehicles, we have a solution which is D 43126 D and D 5 D. This gives us a distance equal to 140. Now, when I use D 5 D, what also happens is we would have something like this. We would, if the solution to this will give something like 743127 and 743128 and 758. So, it will be like in the network that we had here, one path will start from the source, just go to 5 and then go to the destination. So, if we look at it from this formulation point of view, the solution will be 744331122668 7558. So, this will be the solution with 140. It is also obvious that as we increase the number of vehicles, force it to certain number of vehicles, we realize that the distance actually increases, which is expected. If we have 3 vehicles, we would have D 3126 D, D 4 D and D 5 D with 150. So, when I use a capital D, I am using this D as a depot. So, as I said, if we use that formulation on this, we would have 7 to 3, 3 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 6, 6 to 8, 7 to 4, 4 to 8 and 7 to 5, 5 to 8. Now, the total distance will be 150. In this you can see that the increases. Now, if we add the constraints, vehicle capacity Q equal to 15 and the 6 individual capacities are 4, 6, 3, 5, 3, 6, and if we solve this formulation for 2 vehicles, now we realize that the total is 4 plus 6, 10, 13, 18, 21, 27. So, we need a minimum of 2 vehicles. So, if we solve for 2 vehicles, we will get the solution D 134 D and D 526 D with total distance D equal to 148. So, similarly we can solve this, for various combinations. We could this we have right now looked at, this right now. For example, we could go back and then we could add some other constraints also. We could, now here we have a situation where it visits 3 customers. Now, we want to restrict it to visiting 2 customers, then we could bring this and put L is equal to 2 and add this. Now, we will realize with 2 visits it may not be possible with 2 vehicles, then we have to increase the number of vehicles to 3 and we can solve it for 3 vehicles. We can look at this as well as this, we will get a different solution, the number of constraints will get added and so on. So, depending on our requirements we can actually do this, but then as I said, this is how we solve the vehicle routing problem optimally using this formulation. One of the important requirements when we look at distribution is that in addition to all this, we have a situation which is called time windows. For example, if we look at the solution D134D and D526D. Now, let us assume that the solution D134D and D526D. Now, the distance travelled will be D to 1 is 20, use a different color. So, D to 1 is 20 plus 1 to 3 is 18 plus 3 to 4 is 20 plus 4 to D is 16, and here D to 5 is 12, 5 to 2 is 22 plus 2 to 6 is 21 plus 6 to D is 19. So, this takes distance equal to 38, 58 plus 16 is 74. This has 23, 24, 44 plus 19 is 63. So, D to 1 is 20, 1 to 3 is 18, 3 to 4 is 20 plus 16. So, 38, 58 plus 16, 74. So, we get 137 here. So, D526D, D to 5 is 12 plus 5 to 2 is 26, 5 to 2 is 22 plus 2 to 6 is 21 plus 6 to D 40, 40 plus 22 62 plus 12 74. So, we get a total of 148. Now, for a moment, instead of assuming these as distances, let us assume these also as time taken, and we are trying to solve the problem such that the total time taken is minimized. Now, if both these vehicles start at time equal to 0 and both these vehicles will come back to the depot at time equal to 74, because it so happens that both of them are equal. Now, if for example, now it will reach the customer number 4 at time equal to 38 plus 20, 58. Here it will reach customer number 6 at 34, 35 plus 55. Now, if we have a requirement that we need to reach customer 4 before 40 say, then it becomes a problem with time windows. If we have a situation where we should visit customer 5 after 20, right now it will visit customer 5 at time equal to 12. Of course, for this instance we could simply go back and switch the sequence, we can do D 4 3 1 etc. But the point is, if we have a larger pool of customers and we have larger number of vehicles and more constraints, we may not be able to do that. Then we get into problem with time windows, where there is an explicit restriction of visiting a customer either before a certain time or after a certain time or in between a certain time. Now, time windows problems are not easy to solve using this kind of formulation, because this kind of formulation is more a path type formulation which talks about which node to visit after another node. Now, there in time windows we need formulations where we have the time of arrival as an explicit variable in the formulation. So, other formulations exist to solve time windows related VRPs. This is widely used when we actually do not have time windows, and we solve the problem more as a problem to find out which customer goes to which vehicle and in which order, and subject to all of these. This does not explicitly consider time of arrival at a customer as a variable, and therefore would not solve a time windows based problem. Several formulations exist. In fact, VRP has multiple formulations, depending on how we wish to solve them, we could use different types of formulations. There are other types of formulations exist where we could use them for certain bounds, and we could also use them to use some other relaxation based procedures. But right now, for the purpose of discussion with respect to distribution in a supply chain, we would look at this formulation, which helps us also model constraints on capacity, constraints on distance, as well as constraints on the number of customers. Now, as I said, all this is possible if we have solvers which can solve this problem for us. If we have a situation where we have about 50 or 60 customers, then we are talking of, here we have 50 square, here we have if we have 50 customers, we are talking of the order of 50 square, which is 2500 variables, and then we also have another 50 plus 50 and so on. The problem also gets unwieldy and becomes difficult to solve with large number of customers. So, we then require heuristics or thumb rule based methods to solve, and there are the most popular heuristic is called the savings based approach. Once again, I have addressed heuristics, the Clark and Wright savings based approach, as well as the improvement over the Clark and Wright, which is called the Holmes and Parker method. I have addressed them in the advanced operations research course, but once again, for the purpose of completion of this, I will do only the Clark and Wright solution to this problem, and we will leave the Holmes and Parker for the viewer to view it in other lectures. Now, the Clark and Wright algorithm is based on a very simple idea that I have a warehouse W or a depot, as I might call it, I call it a depot, and there are two customers 1 and 2, or in general I and j. Now, if a vehicle goes from the depot, it goes to the customer and then it meets the customer requirement and it comes back. It once again goes to this customer and comes back. The distance travelled will be 2 times d naught I plus d naught j. D0 is the origin or the depot, I is the customer I. So, 2 times D0 I plus 2 times D0 j. But if there is enough capacity and we move from the depot to customer I and then to customer j and then we come back to the depot, the distance travelled would be d naught I plus d naught j plus dij. Now, if distances satisfy triangle inequality, we know that this is smaller than this. Therefore, there is a saving if we move, instead of going to customer I and back and then customer j and back, if we combine, there is a saving which is called Sij, which is the difference between this and this. This is bigger, this is smaller. So, this on subtraction would give us d naught I plus d naught j minus dij. So, given a dij matrix such as this, it is possible for us to find out an Sij. Now, please note that this matrix is a 7 by 7 matrix with 0 representing the depot and 1 to 6 representing the 6 customers. The savings matrix will be a 6 by 6 matrix, and that will be only for customer pairs I and j, because the 0 is hidden inside the saving. So, now what we do is we can compute the savings matrix for the given distance matrix, and let me write the savings. So, the savings would be 1 to 2, the saving is 16, 1 to 3 the saving is 16, 2 to 6 the saving is 16, 2 to 4 is 14, 3 to 6 is 12, 1 to 6 is 11, 3 to 4 is 10, 2 to 5 is 8, 1 to 4 is 6, 1 to 5 is 6, 5 to 6 is 5, 3 to 5 is 4, 4 to 6 is 3, 2 to 3 is 0, and 4 to 5 is minus 2. So, this is our savings matrix. Then let us assume q equal to 15 and small q is equal to 463536. And vehicle capacity is 15. Now, when we compute the savings matrix, now I have not shown the savings matrix as a square matrix, I have shown it pairwise. So, there are 6 customers. So, there are 6C2 which is 15 pairs, it is also symmetric. So, saving between 1 to 2 is the same as 2 to 1. So, I have just shown the 15 values here. We just observe two things, that when we do this, particularly here, we now realize that 2 to 3 there is a saving of 0, which means the depot 2 and 3 lie on a straight line. Now, here the saving is minus 2 would indicate the numbers actually do not satisfy triangle inequality, and there is a little violation in these numbers. These numbers are not realistic and practical from a triangle inequality point of view, but it actually does not matter when it comes to solving this particular illustration. Now, the other thing I have done is I have already written these pairs or the savings in the sorted order, in the decreasing or non increasing order they have been written. So, the Clark and Wright algorithm will begin by looking at the highest saving, and then it would save 1 and 2. So, it starts with vehicle 1, puts 1 and 2 together to have a saving of 16, and if we put 1 and 2 together, we use 10 units of the demand. The vehicle has a capacity of 15, now the requirement for 1 and 2 is 10, so we use up 10 out of the 15. We now take the next saving, which is 1 and 3. Now, 1 is already here, 1 is at the end of it. So, 1 and 3 can give us an additional saving of 16. Now, we are adding this 3 inside. So, 4 plus 6 10 plus 3 13 is okay. So, we put this 13, we have another saving of 16 here, and then we have to add 3 here. The reason is the saving comes out of 1 and 3, therefore, if we should not put here, if we put here then it becomes 2 and 3, which would be a 0. So, you put 1 and 3 here. So, we have now have a saving of 32, and we have used up 13 out of the 15 capacity. Then we look at 2 and 6. So, we can try and add 6 here, but we cannot do it because the capacity will be exceeded. Similarly, we cannot do 2 4, we cannot do 3 6, we cannot do 1 6, we cannot do 3 4, we cannot do 2 5, we cannot do 1 4, we cannot do 1 5, and the next thing we can do is 5 and 6. But we have to put them in a separate vehicle. So, we start with vehicle V2 or vehicle 2, we put 5 and 6 together to have a saving of 5, and we used up a capacity of 9. 5 and 6 is 3 plus 6, which is 9. Then we look at 3 and 5, we cannot do that because both are assigned. Look at 4 and 6, which has 3. So, 6 to 4 will come here. So, saving is plus 3, and 4 has another 5. So, 9 plus 5 14, 13. So, total saving is 40. Total saving is 40, and we can also show how this saving comes. We can calculate this D312 D and D564 D. Now, D312 D will give me D to 3 is 14, 3 to 1 is 18, 1 to 2 is 22, plus 2 to D is another 18. So 14 plus 18, 32, 54 plus 18 is 72, and the other one D to 5 is 12, 5 to 6 is 26, 6 to 4 is 32, and 4 to D is 16. So 12 plus 26, 38, 40, 70, 86. So this gives us 158 is the total distance that we travel. The saving is 40, and if we realize that if we had actually gone from the depot to 1 and back, depot to 2 and back, 3 and back, and so on, the distance we would have travelled is 20, 38, 52, 68, 80, 99. 99 into 2 is 198. So 198 minus saving 40 gives us 158. Now if we do this through the Clark and Wright, this is called the savings based algorithm. Or it is called Clark and Wright algorithm. For this particular example, Clark and Wright gives us a solution with distance of 158 and a saving of 40. So one of the limitations of Clark and Wright is that once we start this 1 and 2 and 1 and 3, by fixing these two and by creating the first vehicle, we have got a saving of 32 here, but this would prevent us from looking at all of these, and the next thing we can look at is somewhere here. Now the question is, if we follow a different order of taking, can we make it better? Now we can. So the improvement to Clark and Wright is called Holmes and Parker method, and as I have mentioned, Holmes and Parker method is computationally more intensive than Clark and Wright method. It is an extension of Clark and Wright method with more computations. It is like a branching algorithm that which will eventually terminate by evaluating all possible paths, but we can also terminate it sooner or quicker depending on our requirements. I have explained the Holmes and Parker solution in detail in the advanced operations research course under the topic vehicle routing, where for the same illustration using the Holmes and Parker method we obtained a saving of 50 instead of saving of 40. So a saving of 50 would actually give us a solution with distance of 198. Now this is 99, so 99 into 2 is 198 minus saving of 50 would give us a solution with distance equal to 148, which actually happens to be the optimum that we have shown here, 74 plus 74, which is 148. Holmes and Parker is capable of giving us this solution. But if we go back here and check, our savings are 1 to 3 and 3 to 4, and then 5 to 2 and 2 to 6. So 2 to 6 and 2 to 5. So 16 plus 16, 32 plus 8, 40 plus 10, 50 is possible. Holmes and Parker method is capable of getting this solution. Clark and Wright is unable to, because Clark and Wright is like a greedy heuristic. It simply sorts it in this order and takes them only in this order and does not try or does not take into consideration other ways of choosing them. So better methods than Clark and Wright, such as Holmes and Parker, exist, but these methods require more computation than the Clark and Wright method. So with this we come to the end of our discussion on vehicle routing problems for this course. We also end our discussion on transportation decisions or transportation modeling. A very quick recap: we started with the basic transportation problem, where we transport a single commodity between a set of source nodes and a set of destination nodes, and then we extended the basic transportation problem to multi-stage transportation, and we also extended the transportation to do what is called fixed charge transportation. Then we looked at from a given point to another destination, we looked at a model where we could have different types of trucks, and then we tried to find out the number of trucks that are needed of each type to do this transportation. So, that gave us a single constrained knapsack problem, and we saw ways to solve that. Then we looked at point to point transportation and then modeled it more like a bin packing problem, and then we looked at milk runs and first looked at the travelling salesman problem formulation, and then we extended it to the vehicle routing problem formulation. So, with this we wind up our discussion on distribution models in a supply chain, and then we look at some aspects of information in the next lecture.